Real quick poll to lead off with. Show of hands. How many of you can, just by looking at this somewhat nondescript house, immediately identify the TV sitcom it was associated with? Of course, the vast majority of folks being my age and older, according to my demographics watching the channel, would of course remember the Brady Bunch house. Now, what if I told you there was a huge psyop that goes on when you remember the show? When you really think about it critically, it was absolutely an insane premise. There were 9 people living in this little 3-bedroom house. According to Zillow, it's an actual house, by the way, in West Hollywood. 3 bedrooms, allegedly 3 bathrooms. I only remember seeing 2 of them. 3 kids in each room. A den, huge, giant den for dad downstairs. They had a combo living, a dining area, a foyer, and then a kitchen, little day room. I mean, 9 people? If there was a sitcom today where 9 people were living in one little house like this in the middle of a neighborhood, you would immediately think, oh, they must have just come across the border. But in today's video, we're going to talk about how they use this technique called nostalgia, remembering things better than what they were, to take your money away from you. Now do I have your attention? We put up a brand new video yesterday, a surprise video, by the way, over at the Patreon channel. Now, it's a different level. It's not a training video. It was a video that I did that got demonetized here on YouTube, but it had to go somewhere. It was a 20-minute video, so I threw it over there. It's at a different level. I put it, people have asked, Florida Maki, can you do another level? I mean, I want to contribute more than $1, so I did. I opened up a $5 level because I had requests for it. So if you want to go check that out, but for free here today, we're going to talk about this nostalgia psyop and how it's actually getting you to hand over your money for something you're never going to be able to use. How many of you have this going on in your life right now? What's called a primacy effect. You see, things from our youth way back, we can remember pretty well. But then there's that middle area of time between now and our youth, that what we call the zone of, oh, what happened that year or this year? Those middle years, I don't remember. But then, of course, there's the zone of recent things, because they're recent, we remember them. So there's this weird bubble. Why is that? It's because of nostalgia. Now, also, what if I told you there are folks out there that know how to use this to a level that is just beyond what you could imagine? How many of you remember the song, The House That Built Me, by Miranda Lambert? It's nothing but nostalgia. It's a song, I thought if I could touch this place or feel it, this brokenness inside me might start healing, all this kind of stuff. Girl that goes back to her childhood home. Now, ACM, Academy of Country Music, Song of the Decade that you would have never heard of. What do you mean, Florida Maki? That was a great song. I don't care who recorded it. Wrong. See, these 2 guys did. The writers. Tom Douglas, Alan Shamblin. Well-known, incredibly popular writers, singers, and musicians. But if they had tried to record it and go to radio with it themselves, and they do a spectacular version of it, a far more believable version of it because of their age, would have never seen the light of day. You know why it saw the light of day? This is why it saw the light of day. Of course, when you have a song like that, you've got to roll out tank top and a pair of Daisy Dukes. It's just the way things are. Now, Florida Maki, you said they're using this to take my money. How are they doing this? I know I have a very unpopular opinion about cryptocurrency and gold, but mark my words, they're using nostalgia tactics to make you believe things in the past were better than they are now. How many of you have heard the commercials for gold? It's never been worth 0. A ham sandwich has never been worth 0. Technically, a crust of bread has never been worth 0. Are you investing in crusts of bread? But Florida Monkey, haven't you seen how much value the dollar has lost? The dollar is a currency, not a commodity. And for the vast majority of gold's history, it's been a commodity. It was used as a parallel currency for a time, but it's not a currency now. And I can prove this to you in facts. Florida Monkey, you are never going to convince me that dollars are worth more than gold. Really? So you're going to argue with facts. First of all, here's the first big lie that they tell you about gold. Oh, and why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this? I was contacted by a gold broker, a gold dealer. And this gold dealer offered me $5,000 a month to push their brokerage to you guys on my channel on a daily basis. Florida Monkey, do you have proof of this? Yes, and I'm going to put it over at Patreon behind a paywall for $1 just to make the point. I'm going to put up a video, and I'm going to show the entire screenshot of the entire conversation I had with these folks. Now, I'm not going to mention the name of the gold broker here in public because I don't have anything against them, but I even told the guy, I have to turn this offer down because I've already told my audience this is the worst possible thing you can do with your money given the state of affairs we're in now in this country. You cannot have your money, your dollars, tied up in ridiculous stuff like cryptocurrency and precious metals. It's going to be a bad deal and people are going to lose a ton of money. And ask yourself a question. Why would they need to offer me $5,000 a month to do little 1 and 2 minute spots inside my videos pushing gold if it was such a good deal? And where would they get that money, by the way? Now, first big lie. Florida Monkey, the dollar is no longer tied to gold. Right, but gold is tied to the dollar. How can those two things both be true? It sounds like they would be contradictory. Well, it's real simple. Price of gold. Let's say tomorrow it goes to $4,000. Price of a loaf of bread. Is that affected any way, shape, or form? No. Price of gold goes to $0 tomorrow. Is the price of a loaf of bread affected? No. $4 loaf of bread, $3 loaf of bread, whatever you pay for a loaf of bread, $2.50, depends on what you get. It's going to be the same tomorrow, the day after that, in dollars, regardless of what gold does. Gold does not control the dollar. It has no relationship in that direction. But in the other direction, if the dollar's value goes up or down, then the price of gold, comparatively speaking, the value of the dollar going up and down, makes the price of gold more expensive, less expensive. And what people aren't understanding is that even though we have inflation and everything is more expensive at the grocery store, the dollar is getting more and more and more powerful internationally. That's why so many countries right now, the dollar is at a 20-year high versus all other currencies. You can't compare the dollar to gold, currency to commodity. You can only compare currency to currency. And no, it's not an insurance. It's not an insurance because you're going to lose your dollars. Now, here's the proof. Here's the real proof. Okay? If you ever have somebody try to sell you gold, show them this part of the video starting at about 9 minutes. 9 minutes, 15 seconds. They love to show you this chart of how $1 now would have gotten you equivalent $26 worth of stuff back then, way back in the 1920s and 30s. Okay, let's talk about the 1930s for 1 minute. So this would make people believe that folks in the 1930s were, relatively speaking, 15 times more wealthy than now? Is that what history shows? Is that what history shows about the 1930s, that people in America were 15 times more wealthy than we are now? No, because you know what this doesn't show? This doesn't show the rise in wages. From the 1930s a year's worth of income was $1,850. That same year's worth of work is now worth, well, in 2017, $61,372. It's like 38 times, 37 or 38 times more you earn for the same year of work. But if you go back, what's the difference here? It's only 15 times. I mean, I guess if you want to talk about the mid-90s, they're 20 times. So if I told you, you know what, I'm going to double the cost of your groceries, but I'm going to quadruple your salary, would you take that deal? If I told you I was going to pay you 4 times as much that you're making right now, but the cost of your grocery bill is going to double, would you take that deal? Of course you'd take that deal. People are far wealthier now. Far wealthier now than they were in the 30s. Here's the perfect example. 78 years of the price of milk. In 1940, well, Flora Maquis, this is what the gold deals will tell you. 1940, you could get a gallon of milk for only 20 cents, and now it's $4. Right, but what did you make an hour working in 1940? What's the difference here between 20 cents and $4? Roughly 20 times as much. It's 20x as much. But the wages are almost 40 times as much now. So you are far wealthier now. And when you look around, this is the case. You see, today, and this is why I started with the Brady Bunch house. Today, if you had 6 kids and you tried to move them into a house with anything less than 4 or 5 bedrooms, you would be insanely cramped. But do you remember that being the case in the Brady Bunch? Where they had 3, the girls had 3 beds, all scattered or single beds, and the boys had each smaller room and 2 bunk beds and the one regular bed, and then they all 6 kids had to share one bathroom with 2 sinks, and then they also had a maid downstairs. Can you imagine what the water bill alone would have been if everybody took a shower? If everybody took a shower once a day, 9 showers a day. I would have loved to see the hot water heater. Never did in the show, by the way, or the furnace. And they had a detached 1-car garage. A detached 1-car garage for 9 people. Here's another one, average new car price. Now, this is where this is the bizarre part. This is where they start to compare apples to elephants. It's like trying to smell the color 9. Truly, it is. They talk about the average price of a new car in the 1930s versus 2018. A new car in the 1930s, you cannot compare to a new car in 2018 because of what? Because they're so much better now than they used to be. And here is the proof on this. This is the DXY index showing the value of the US dollar against 6 other major currencies, and the dollar is far more powerful. And here's an article I'll link for you. You can read why the dollar is incredibly powerful right now. And that's why a lot of countries, and when they say they're dumping it, in trade with each other, but not with us. You see, this is the thing they're not saying. Like South American nations seek to avoid dollar. Brazil could extend a line of credit to debt-laden Argentina. Yes, amongst themselves, they're trading in their own currencies. That's true. But not with us. They still want dollars coming into their country. They don't want to have to take their currency, convert it to dollars, and have it leave. See, that they don't want. That they don't want at all. But man, dollars coming in, US dollars coming in, you bet they want them. You absolutely bet they want US dollars coming in right now. Now, Flora Maquis, you tell us sometimes what we shouldn't do and what's bad, but you never tell us what we should do. You want to invest in something? Guys, do you want to invest in something? Invest in something that men have been willing to die for for a long time. If you want to have a zombie apocalypse, plan not to be alone. And I've said the same thing before to the ladies. If you want to have a zombie apocalypse plan, invest in someone. Invest in each other. And especially to you ladies out there, when the lights go out and the riots start and things get hairy and the grocery stores are raided and it's basically just the supplies and you hear that bump in the night, you might want to have somebody that can get up and load a shotgun and not have any problem shooting first and asking questions later downstairs. And that might be someone maybe a little bit older. Don't be by yourself and don't have being just you be your zombie apocalypse plan. Now, final thing. Especially when it comes to cars and nostalgia. It's the only picture I could find, closest picture I could find. This is the very first car I had in high school. It was my mom's hand-me-down grocery getter. It was a 1977 Pontiac Grand Safari station wagon. Now, my dad had gotten this years before. He had passed on when I was in middle school, and he got it with the big Oldsmobile 403 V8. So it was a heck of a sleeper. It really was. Now, you would think, man, that's a heck of a car. Do you wish you had it now? For nostalgia reasons. It had, the middle, the front row, the middle, the back, the gate that flipped down, and it would go, believe me. But I looked it up once, what its actual specs were, and I got it in 1986 when I got my driver's license. It was a 77, so that made it 9 years old at that time. 9 years old. This is my current vehicle. This is a 2016 GMC Acadia Denali. And it's now this year going on about 8 years old. So it's about 1 year newer, but it's about the modern equivalent. They don't make station wagons anymore. It's a little mid-sized SUV. There is no category in which this vehicle I have right now is not superior to this one, other than numismatic value. And that's what ties this to gold. See, gold has numismatic value. It has nostalgic value. That's why they do all sorts of coins and different things to make you believe it's worth more than what it is. Even that big 403 V8 with the big Holly 4-barrel on it generated about 225, maybe 250 horsepower in reality. This is a 3.6 liter V6 and it generates more, almost 300 horsepower. And this is all-wheel drive. This has bigger wheels on it. This has actually more interior space than that station wagon did. Now this car, it was heavier. So in, Midwest winters, I grew up in the Midwest, you might be able to make the argument that, but, with two-wheel drive, I don't think so, not even in the winter. It was a softer ride, perhaps, a little bit, but that would be about it. But what does nostalgia tell you? Nostalgia tells you, oh, man, you'd love to have that car back and all the good times you had in that car, and, man, that would be neat to go drive that vehicle again, and we all have this. We all remember the past as better than what it is. I'll admit I was stunned when I looked up the stats on the engine and the vehicle and compared to the one I have now. And I'm like, wow, but it's the difference between 1977 and 2016. And this takes us all the way back to this issue with gold and how we remember things better than what they were. You see, you can't compare a 1930s car to a car now and say, well, gosh, the prices of cars have gone up so much because the value of the dollar's gone down. You can't, it's like I said, it's like trying to smell the color 9. You cannot compare the two things. I live in, and I've said this before, and I'll leave with this. I have a little 3-2 here in Florida. It's not quite as big as the Brady house. I think the Zillow on this has us at 2,400 square feet. Mine's just under 2. But I live here by myself. But there's no way I could even envision how I could have 8 other people live in this house with me and it not be a nightmare. But was the Brady Bunch a nightmare? Even if they were kids. Even if they were kids, there'd be no way. And they had a dog. Was it Tiger? So they had they had 3 adults, 2 older teenagers, 2 tweens, and then 2 elementary school kids. No way. No way. Absolutely not. Not possible. But we don't remember it that way, do we? We remember it as this happy, wonderful place. The idea that dad had this huge den that looked like it was as big as both of the kids' bedrooms combined, just for his own private little getaway. I'm surprised the feminists haven't torn that apart already, looking at the Brady Bunch. How he has this huge place to go get away and shut the door and be by himself. And nobody can bother him there. And he's got 6 kids crammed into 2 little bitty tiny bedrooms, and a maid that's way over on the other side of the house that has to live in basically a closet behind the washer and dryer. I mean, a live-in maid. Imagine a live-in maid being able to afford that. Be able to afford a live-in maid, but not a bigger house. An architect that couldn't have put an addition on the house or added a bedroom or done something. It's just insane. So anyway, I'll leave it there, but we will see you guys over at Patreon, and I'm going to put up the conversation over there behind the speed bump, the $1 a month speed bump, so you can see I'm not bullshitting you. I turned down $60,000 a year to push gold. So anyway, I'll leave it there. God bless. $1 a month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable first 90 days. Would love to have you. God bless. Have a great rest of your week. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.